Most people think fatty liver only happens to heavy drinkers. But millions of people who rarely or never drink alcohol are developing fat inside their liver anyway. And the reason has much more to do with metabolism than alcohol. For decades, doctors called it non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and most people only discovered they had it after an unexpected blood test. But in 2023, the medical community introduced a new name: metabolic dysfunction-associated steatotic liver disease, or MASLD, because researchers recognized this condition isn't just about the liver. It's connected to how your body processes sugar, stores fat, and responds to metabolic signals shaped by your daily habits. And what makes MASLD especially worth understanding is that it often develops silently. Many people carry excess liver fat for years without obvious symptoms, and by the time unusual lab results appear, the process may already be well advanced. Here on Human Health Archive, we explore the science behind nutrition, metabolism, and the biological systems that influence how your body functions. So let's separate what research shows from what headlines exaggerate. To understand why this matters, it helps to look at what MASLD describes. It's the accumulation of excess fat in liver cells, specifically when that accumulation exceeds roughly 5% of liver weight, in people whose condition is not primarily caused by heavy alcohol use. The liver naturally contains some fat, and that's normal. But when the amount begins to interfere with organ function or triggers inflammatory processes, the situation becomes more serious. That's where the distinction between MASLD and MASH, metabolic dysfunction-associated steatohepatitis, becomes critical. MASLD is the broader term. MASH involves inflammation and hepatocyte injury, meaning the liver cells themselves are being damaged. Not everyone with MASLD progresses to MASH, and not everyone with MASH develops fibrosis. But understanding your individual risk through proper evaluation is far more valuable than guessing. One of the central mechanisms researchers have identified is insulin resistance. When your cells become less responsive to insulin, the hormone that helps regulate blood sugar, your pancreas produces more to compensate. Over time, this cycle can drive excess glucose into pathways that promote fat synthesis, and much of that fat can end up stored in the liver. Studies indicate that insulin resistance is present in a significant proportion of people with MASLD, and often coexists with elevated triglycerides, low HDL cholesterol, and increased waist circumference. The liver doesn't exist in a metabolic vacuum. It's part of an interconnected system where the pancreas, muscle, fat tissue, and gut all communicate. When that communication breaks down, the liver often bears the burden. If this explanation is helping you see fatty liver differently, consider liking the video. It helps more people find clear, evidence-aware health information. And I'd love to hear from you. Has your doctor ever mentioned your liver enzymes during a checkup? Drop a comment below. When people first learn about fatty liver, the instinct is to search for a single superfood. But the evidence consistently points elsewhere. It's the overall dietary pattern that matters most. Research on Mediterranean-style eating patterns has shown associations with reduced liver fat and improved metabolic markers. What appears beneficial isn't one ingredient, but the combination: abundant vegetables, fruits, legumes, whole grains, nuts, olive oil, and fish, alongside a reduction in ultra-processed foods and refined carbohydrates. Sugar deserves particular attention because fructose, found in high concentrations in sugary beverages, is metabolized predominantly by the liver. When consumed in large amounts, especially in liquid form, it can promote the process by which the liver converts excess sugar into fat. Reducing sugar-sweetened beverage intake has been associated with improvements in liver fat content in several studies. But this doesn't mean eliminating entire food groups. It means making more intentional choices about what you eat, consistently, over time. Physical activity is another area where evidence is encouraging. Exercise alone, without dietary changes, may reduce liver fat to some degree, according to several trials. But combining regular activity with dietary improvements tends to produce more meaningful results. Both aerobic exercise and resistance training can support metabolic health and may reduce hepatic fat. A 30-minute walk most days of the week fits within what the evidence supports. The key is consistency, making movement part of your routine rather than an occasional effort. For some individuals, particularly those carrying excess visceral fat, gradual weight reduction is one of the most evidence-supported interventions for reducing liver fat. Studies have shown that losing as little as 7 to 10% of body weight over several months can be associated with meaningful metabolic changes. But the word gradual matters profoundly here. Losing weight too quickly or through extreme caloric restriction has been associated in some studies with a temporary increase in liver inflammation, the very thing you're trying to improve. When weight loss is recommended, it should be pursued at a sustainable pace, ideally under professional guidance. It's about working with your biology, not against it. There's another dimension that doesn't always get attention: sleep and stress. Research has found associations between poor sleep quality, short sleep duration, and higher rates of liver fat accumulation. Chronic stress can influence cortisol levels and metabolic regulation in ways that may contribute to the environment MASLD thrives in. Fixing sleep or managing stress alone won't resolve fatty liver, but a comprehensive approach considers these factors alongside diet and exercise, because the body doesn't separate these systems neatly. And that brings us to a critical point: professional evaluation. MASLD can range from mild fat accumulation with no clinical significance to a progressive condition. The only way to know where you fall is through proper assessment, blood tests including liver enzymes and metabolic panels, and sometimes imaging like ultrasound or fibroscan. If you have risk factors like type 2 diabetes, obesity, or metabolic syndrome, speaking with a specialist is a meaningful step. Because what the research consistently shows is that no single food, supplement, or habit reverses metabolic dysfunction alone. What matters is the pattern, the consistency of choices that support your gut, your hormones, and your metabolic environment over time. But here is where most people struggle. It is not that they do not know what to eat. It is that maintaining that variety and consistency day after day, with busy schedules and competing demands, is genuinely difficult. Getting enough fiber, antioxidants, and plant-based nutrients from whole foods every single day requires planning that many people simply cannot sustain. Some people find it practical to use a concentrated greens formula as a daily baseline, not as a replacement for real food, and certainly not as a treatment for liver fat or any medical condition, but as a way to fill the nutritional gaps when whole food variety falls short. If you want to explore one option that combines targeted plant nutrients and digestive support ingredients into a single drink, you can find more details through the link in the description below. And if you want to keep exploring how metabolic health, nutrition, and the body's internal systems connect, in a way grounded in actual research, make sure to subscribe to Human Health Archive. Your liver has an extraordinary capacity to adapt when the conditions supporting its health are put in place. But that doesn't happen through a single supplement or a single dramatic change. It happens through small, consistent choices that align with how your metabolism actually works. What aspect of liver health or metabolic function would you like us to explore next? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.